Welcome to Green's Gridiron Exchange. I'm your host, Coach Green, followed by Andy V and my boy Royce Willer. Welcome, guys. Finally coming down to the final few games of the season. A lot of games was pushed back, so I believe that this week is the week of the makeup games. So some games will be played on Wednesday, some on Thursday, and then that's a wrap. The final season will be done and it'll be time for the postseason. So, fun filled show for you guys tonight, and we want to just go through recap, and we want to talk about what's going on around in Pinellas County as far as what's going on football wise. So,
Yes,
What's
sir. Yes, sir. All right. Well, yeah, man. As usual, you guys, we didn't really get. I didn't really get a chance to do anything to the media top 10, and we didn't actually get a chance to talk about it. But we go kind of freestyle today off the dome because we do have the knowledge to do that, and we go talk about a few games, man. The first one is the CCC game. I don't know if you guys had a chance to keep up with it, but the first half was actually kind of thrilling. Um, Dylan Nard and those guys, they came out, showed up pretty fast. Of course, Shawnee and them, they did their thing offensively, but Bogey was matching up. A couple big plays by Nara, and a couple, he ended up actually having a very decent game, which I think was very beneficial to him. Um, but of course, CCC ended up blowing them out, of course. Um, so they're ending the season 7-3, so didn't get to change that. 8-2, didn't get to change that. But then we had Calvary who went and they got smoked. They got smoked, man. And I don't know. I know Andy talked about that. That was a tough team. I don't think we expected that. But would you guys, based on that, would you guys keep Calvary at number two?
Yes. Yeah. I,
yeah,
I mean, the first academy, very talented team. I mean, on a state level, they just got hit actually on that day of when they were playing Calvary Christian. They were hit with major rules violations by the
Mm.
SAA. They actually had to forfeit the previous 9 games because of just a slew of violations ranging from illegal permissible benefits given to the players, ineligible players, like just a bevy of things that so technically heading into that game, and because of the timing of when that news broke on Friday, it was actually by Buddy Collins of the Orlando Sentinel. um, they were 0-9 heading into that game.
Mm.
I think they probably played players that I'm guessing, because if you have so many guys that weren't supposed to be on that team, weren't supposed to be playing, I mean, I'm guessing probably some guys ended up playing that probably shouldn't have. I know there was an assistant coach that was banned, I think until Halloween of 2025. So we're talking next year, and we have photos through SB Live that very coach was at the game. He was at the game. He was on the track. I think he was seen a time or two on the sidelines with the players interacting. Based on his ban, that should not have been going on. But
Mm.
I just a lot kind of around that game, other than the game itself.
Right.
Obviously, for Calvary, really tough team. I think I compared this to what they were going to face with like a Bishop Verot or
Right. You did.
they
Yeah.
face or First Baptist Academy. I mean, this is just these kind of teams. When you're playing teams like that, they're very talented, filled with Power Four
Stat.
level type players. Yeah, they were stacked. I mean, and whether they were stacked in the right way or whatever, I mean, they were still really dang good, and they showed it. I was kind of impressed with the way they kind of just shrugged everything off. It's almost like to them, what violations? Like they went out and they still did what they do and played well. And Calvary just, I thought Calvary played the way I thought they'd play. I mean, I thought they battle, they'd be, doing what they can to be in that game, but I did not think they would win the game. I thought it'd be a multiple score type game. So I'm not going to drop them, or I wouldn't drop them if we were, presenting our poll. I think they did what I thought they would do.
Right, and I believe that's the end of the season for Calvary. They end the season. I think they end the season 5-3. I believe they're probably most likely going to be in the playoffs. I would hope so. I don't really know the playoff system too much. I'm just hoping that they do another playoff show like they did last year
They
to kind
will.
of help us out. Yeah, so hopefully once they announce that, we'll be dropping our dates. Everybody, I'm pretty sure you'll be dropping it, and we'll all be dropping it on our platforms. Then we got St. Pete coming in. They're 7-2. They had a bye last week. They're coming in against a Northeast team this week. So of course we're probably going to most likely keep them where they're at. Clearwater had a bye as well, 7-3. We got P Park. They are 5-3. They no, they're 6-3 now. They did have a win last week, so of course they're still looking good. Got Largo, who last play of the game once again pulled it out against Northeast. Well, this time Largo was on the winning side of that. And they actually had, I mean, they had some, their players showed up, and it still came down to the last game. I mean, Sincere McClinton over 150 rushing. Anthony Harris, his highlight tape, multiple touchdowns. Xavier Edmonds, Xavier Phillips showed up big time, and it still took all of that to beat Northeast. So, uh, of course, that speaks to how hard Northeast has been playing. Based on Coach Davis and what's been going on with him. But does that speak to Largo as well as to have they reached their ceiling as far as how far they can really go? And as much have they really shown us everything that they have? Um, and I don't think so. I think that they have a lot of talent. They do have a lot of talent. I just think that we're gonna have to see that, just like last year where we used to call what was the quarterback from Largo last year, Green?
Uh,
Jeremy Thomas. I
yep,
used to
Jeremy
call
Thomas.
out that he has to have certain types of games in order for them to win. Xavier Phillips is going to have to do the same thing. He's going to have to do the same thing. What you guys think of as far as P Park Largo? Any feelings as far as that?
Well, P Park and Largo was, in my opinion, was evenly matched. Throughout the year, they stayed right around, close to each other, and it was one of those back and forth because Largo beat Pinellas Park, but then Pinellas Park had some wins that Largo, may have lost to, and they were always a close neck and neck team as far as the records were similar, and they were just it was splitting hairs with those two teams. I always thought that Pinellas Park had the more talented team, just with the athletes that they had combined as a team. I thought Pinellas Park was just a little bit better, but these schools for what they had, coming back, a lot of schools had lost a lot of talent, and it was younger guys that was thrust into the limelight, guys that had to step up in the place of a lot of guys, that departed from both teams from last year. So, I wouldn't say, basically none of them really outplayed their records. So I think they both ended up where I figured they should have been, anyway, with the talent that they was bringing back. So,
Yeah, and to speak to that, I mean, in a way, Pinellas Park kind of overachieved because
yeah,
Largo added talent. Park lost it.
Yep.
So just thinking about that, you lost Wayne Cunningham, Tank Thomas, and Triplet. Those will probably be your captains of the team, outside of maybe Casanova and Caro, and they lost what was it, Brian Key to
Yep.
Clearwater.
They lost Trey.
I mean,
Trey.
they lost a lot and still showed up big time. What you think, Andy?
Yeah, I think Pinellas Park kind of played like I said, between those two teams, I only got to see Pinellas Park during the season. Year before, I got to see Northeast against Cardinal Gibbons, and from the talent that I was able to see from both teams in two separate seasons, and it sounds like Northeast is kind of similar to last year, where it's like you felt like they were good enough to be in the game. It's like they just, for whatever reason, couldn't figure out how to go ahead and win the games that could kind of take them over the top and create like that conversation that they're in the top tier in Pinellas County. Like they're such a, I would say, like a tease type team, because you want to like say, hey, yeah, they're right there. They're top 5 or they're somewhere in that bottom 10, but they just don't have the wins to really validate catapulting them into the top 10. It's like at some point you got to win the games. I mean, you can come close with no cigar, but we're not going to sit here and hand you the cigar. I mean, you got to go get it. So, and Pinellas Park, I think they had their moments, but I think that kind of swings both ways. They had their feel good moments, and then they had their moments like, what the heck? Like, you guys are a little kind of Dr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde type of team. And Green, I think, mentioned it, like some of the talent they lost in the offseason. I think if they had those guys, you have Tank Thomas, you have Triplet, like, I mean, we could be talking about a totally different team. We could be easily saying top 5, top, maybe like 3 or 2, because I think outside of Clearwater Central Catholic, and, I know Clearwater's like gotten a lot better as the season's gone on, but I think 2 through 10, it's all been, we're trying to base on what they did one week, and then we're looking at another, and then we're kind of like, but wait a minute, that team lost to that team, they're towards the bottom, but then this team beat that team and they're way up there. Like, it none of it really makes sense. It's not all like clear cut, and you could say, yeah, everyone that's below them they beat. Like, no, there's teams that are higher than other teams, and they might have lost to somebody that's below them. Like, the rhyme or reason why they're higher is we got to rank them based on how they've been playing, not what they did at the beginning.
Correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So following those P Park Largo, we got Tarpon and Lakewood 7-8 playing this week. Tarpon beat, they beat the golf team, not anything that was just, a lashing or anything, but they did what we thought they would do. And then Lakewood, even though they took the L, we have to give them, the way they lost, of course, dropping that ball. The way they started was a little bit dead. Of course, a lot of rain, which of course kind of played in Osceola Kissimmee favor. And Lakewood was really kind of able to hold them off until halftime, keep the game close. And, it come down to really them. It wasn't Osceola Kissimmee that won. It was Lakewood that lost. So, this is now a 4-5 Lakewood. But this might be the best. I mean, how many 4 or 5 teams do you think out there could beat Lakewood? You know
Uh,
what I'm saying? Being totally honest. I
yeah,
don't think there's many. You know what I'm saying? So this might be the best 4-5 team in the area, maybe close to the state.
yeah.
When you
I,
talk about Lakewood, so I'm looking forward to this game, even though the records. You talk about 6-3 versus 4-5. This is still to me bragging rights. This is still this is gonna be major for Tarpon. Last game of the season. Um, Big game against Lakewood. I expect the atmosphere to be crazy, and I'm gonna be there. What you guys think?
Yeah, well, I've got an opportunity to watch, of course, Lakewood all season, and it's still like behooves me, if that's even the correct word to use in this sentence, that they're 4 and 5, because they had, when you look at the talent on that team, as far as the running backs they have, the receivers, the O line, and just the collection of players, it's almost, it's kind of like the Tarpon Springs team with all the athletes that they have. You would have thought that they would have been undefeated, coming into the season, and that's kind of how I looked at Lakewood, and that's why last week we talked about if it was any team that we thought would have been, that would have disappointed or didn't kind of do what we felt that they should do. Me and you
Mm-hmm.
Roy, said Lakewood, just for that simple fact. But I would say this: Lakewood showed last week against Kissimmee that I think that they can play with anybody, of course, in our area, but some considerable good teams in the state, just for the simple fact. Second half, they came out and they literally just shut down that running game, and kind of made Osceola do some things that they wasn't prepared to do. And it came down to a 4th and goal for them, could possibly have won that game. Defensively, they're as sound as any team in the area, and they have weapons. And when they're clicking on all cylinders, Lakewood is a tough team to beat. They played like I said, they played a tough team on the road in the rain first half, and they really didn't do much. And then they came back to take the lead, but then they called back a touchdown. Of course, you playing in somebody else's home, but as you can see, the type of plays that they're making right there on the offensive end of the ball, side of the ball, and then you couple that with a good defense. Like you said, it's going to be an interesting game because they know that this is their last shot in order to get into the playoffs. At times it was just easy and effortless. Look at that. They really showed some moxie, and I think that they showed that it doesn't matter where they are. This is the play that they called back, and they said that it was a legal man downfield, and this would have been the winning game. This would have been the winning touchdown right there. That would have won the game. But they called it back for a legal man downfield, and they actually had to drive um, down the field again to get into the red zone, and it came down to a 4th and goal, and the receiver just couldn't hang on to it on 4th down. That could have won the game. So hats off to those guys. Hats off to the young men on both sides of the ball on both teams, because it was back and forth. But as you can see, battle tested guys really just played the hearts out. You see the score; it was 21-7 at that point. Again, and just showed the will and the moxie to make it a game, because early, if you was there, 70 down 21-0 in the rain on the road 2 hours away, no,
Right.
I don't know if you can see, but that's Lakewood side, no stands, no fans, and you basically battling one of the top teams in the area, in the state, 4-star linebackers, 4-star running backs committed to UCF. They had the momentum coming in, and you look at the records, and you would have thought that the game would have been, a lot out of hand, just by looking at the records and maybe who Osceola had played prior to Lakewood coming in. But just like I said, Lakewood just showed what type of team they are. And again, I'm looking forward to them in Tarpon Springs this week, because that's going to determine if they make it to in the playoffs or not.
Right. Definitely, man. Okay, cool. Then we got Seminole coming in. They were seven. They're now 7-2. I want to give a shout out to them boys, man, because I think that a lot of people have slept on the fact that this was a team, Coach Sanchez, this is a team last year that was 4-5. They were 4-5. The year before that, I don't know what their record was, but for them to be 7-2, they're going against playing Hollins. Good chance they might be 8-2. I want to give them a shout out. Then also Hollins even as well, because you're talking about a team that was 0-10 last year, 1-9 the year before. That's now 3-6.
It's happening.
You know what I'm saying? Dunedin, same thing. I think Dunedin's 3-6 now. I don't think they haven't won a game in the last 2 seasons, maybe. So we definitely want to give a shout out to those guys. But Seminole, keeping them down at number 9. They're playing Hollins this week. And then Osceola, I know they took a loss. Who did they play last week, Green?
Last week, Osceola played.
Osceola lost to.
I know the week before it was St. Pete they lost to last week? Is that when your boy?
Last week St. Pete didn't. They didn't
play. So that was the week before.
They didn't play. Was it Pinellas Park? It was Pinellas Park, right?
Yep, Pinellas Park.
Pinellas Park. Okay, so yeah, they played Pinellas Park last week. No Gavin Galish, so we kind of knew what they were facing. So keeping them at number 10, because really there was not any really other teams that really showed up. I know that Seminole, I think they played Indian Rocks, and they gave them the business. So yeah, that kind of speaks on that. Let's see. What do we have next? So something we're going to talk about next is these Player of the Year candidates. We have all the stats in. And I want to talk to you guys because we got 6 candidates. And my crew, we said we're going to break it down to 5 tonight. And instead of us just breaking it down, we said we're going to talk to you guys about it and kind of see what you guys thought as far as who should be the top 5. So, of course, we got Mr. Newton. He showed up big. When you look, we're going to talk about player by player. When you look at Mr. Newton, what do you guys think keeps him at number 1 and really helps him stand out amongst the players in the county, even amongst Jeff Jones? Green.
Well, for me,
and
go ahead.
Well, go ahead. Oh, you got it, Andy. You can go, Andy.
I would just say, I mean, best player on the best team in the county. I mean, they'll have a chance again to kind of run the table to get to the 1A state championship. The first academy seemingly likely going to be out of that equation. Team that Calvary just played, I think that kind of provides a more open path for CCC to make another run. I know we talked about, maybe scenarios of cutting off kind of like the statistics because some guys may not play as, far down the road as others. But, looking at what he's done this season, 103 of 159. I mean, completion percentage just below 65%. 1,497 yards, 12 touchdowns, just 4 picks. He's rushed for 720 yards, 9 touchdowns, averaging 8 a clip. I mean, he's played some defense too this year. I noticed it kind of like situationally. I won't really bring up his defensive stats because it's not like he has like a ton of statistics there, but I just think what he means to the team, you do wonder like if somebody else was running it full time. I know they got this Barrett kid, the sophomore, behind him. He looks like he's got some pretty decent numbers and probably cleanup time. But I mean, I think Newton, you get the dual threat, full package. I mean, I just think it'd be hard to argue. Jeff Jones, I do believe, means a lot to the St. Pete team, but I think you're looking at a team that, I mean, not quite sure how far they're going in the playoffs. I mean, they could be a kind of 1-game deal. It could be 2 games. I would max it at 2 games. I would be surprised if they made a region final. But you feel like with Newton, you're going to get minimum probably at least 3 to 4 more games. And I guess my argument for that, and it does kind of stink for kids that are playing independent or their season's over, but I'd hate to really knock on kids that are like playing deep into the postseason. And I mean, to me, that you give out an award at the end for winning it all. So to me, like, I don't think we can knock like I don't think we're gonna knock like Lamar Jackson, for what he's doing if he makes a a deep playoff run with the Ravens, and somebody else might have some statistics that are comparable. I think we're gonna look at him and say, hey, this dude's leading his team and doing his thing. Like, yeah, maybe somebody else might be close, but this guy's been the dude on arguably one of the best teams. So I think Jershon's he's proven it.
Right. What about you, Green? What is he number one still in your book right now, and what keeps him up there?
Man, it's hard to argue when you've watched him do it over a number of years, and you try to put things into perspective that is year to year basis, and kind of try to take that out of the thing. But you look at the stats as well. You look at the team success, and you know that he's a big part of that because it's just like Jeff Jones. Without Shawnee, I don't think a lot of those games are won. You know what I mean? Like as far as him putting the team on his back in critical moments, whether it's getting a critical first down or making a big play when if he's not there, do they still have the same success without him being there? So I think that counts a lot too. What he means to the team and what he's able to do. I think out of all of the guys on the list, he's had the toughest go because he not only comes into each game, each team comes into the game with him saying that if we stop him, we can stop the team. I'm pretty sure that the blueprint is stop number one and we win the game. And just like with Jeff Jones, stop Jeff Jones, we win the game. And I haven't seen anybody really in this area that's been able to do that. And I don't think anybody, Canella's teams, would have been able to do that. And it's shown. So that's why I would still have him up there at number one, just because he's proved over time and this year that when you need a big play and the game's on the line, he's the one you want with the ball in his hands.
Facts. Same for me, man. I think, like you say, best player on the best team. What Andy said, best player on the best team. One of those players who he's once again a generational talent. Um, if Jeff Jones running around, this would probably be I mean, I wouldn't say it'd be a landslide because Noel Brown, those are pretty good stats. I have watched the film. Um, I've watched, like I watched Sevillano last year. They both have a domination inside that's just it's different. It's definitely different. But for B 103 for 159, that accuracy, the passing, just the career and the blueprint, he definitely stands out at number one for me. But I definitely think that this could be it could be anybody's award. Jeff still has a game to give us, and depending on what he does this week, he could catapult himself up there. Noel Brown, his season's over, and then we got Makai Johnson, who at the end of the day he is having a great season. 40 receptions, 835 yards, 7 touchdowns. That's a big season by anybody's standards, and a lot of different. Those are the numbers we expected from Josh Robinson. You know what I'm saying? Those were the type of numbers we were expecting from Josh Robinson, and he left. And Makai Johnson was able to bring that to us and still give us, a top-notch receiver at that level. Then Mason Stark, he has another game left against, a team that, we're talking he could potentially have 1,100 yards and maybe 500 receiving. Maybe, and if he gets another interception, that'll be crazy, So to reach the 40 tackles, 7 interception, 1,000 yards, 500 yards receiving, that's tough. And then we got Tank Thomas, who a career talent, another generational talent. Now tied with the CCC lead for sacks with Keo Jenkins, just 1 year CCC. Excellent, just excellent, and we expected that, and we knew that he would be here. So just looking at this, guys, if you had to take one player off the list and bring it to a top 5, who would you guys select?
I'd have to see the full list. I'm trying to see the first 3 guys: Noel Brown, Jeff Jones, Dershawn. I don't see the other 3 down there.
Yeah, the other 3 are Tank Thomas, Mason Stark, and Makai Johnson.
I don't know. I guess for me, just preference standpoint, I don't like seeing like 2 guys from the same team on a list. So nothing what Tank Thomas has done. He's had a nice season. Just preference wise, I'd probably take him off just because if you're not, I don't know. I couldn't like undisputably say he's the most important player on his own team. So I don't know if that would warrant like he's the best player. I think if there's a question if he's better than one guy, then I don't know how I can make him better than everybody else. But that's just me.
Right. And I understand that because actually, Shedeur Sanders, they were talking to him this weekend. He brought that up, the fact that, hey, it doesn't, even for the Heisman, it's not going to be 2 guys from the same team up there. Travis Hunter, it makes sense for Travis Hunter to be the one. You know what I'm saying? So that does make sense. That does make sense. What about you, Grant?
Yeah, I would probably do Tank Thomas as well, and probably not for the reason of what he said, but that plays a factor. But Noel Brown has 15 sacks and 91 tackles. So his sack totals and tackle totals is more than Tank Thomas's. So you couldn't punish him and he'd have better numbers. You know what I mean?
Right.
So looking at what the other guys have done, like in their actual categories, you know what I mean? Like as far as like if you had 2 quarterbacks, Jeff Jones is considered an athlete. So Shawnee represents the quarterbacks. Jeff, you can say, represents the athletes. If we had a wide receiver representation, that would be Makai. Now you got 2 guys, defensive guys that kind of play similar positions, but one has better stats than the other. So you can say like one can counsel one of each other is going to get canceled out. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would probably say. If anything, that if any reason why I would cancel or take him off, it would probably be that. And then I just also feel like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, Mason Stark to me feels like one of those guys who plays in the mid-major, and he's going up against guys who play P4.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like the running back for Boise State, like it's almost like if he don't super exceed his potential. I already hear guys talking about because he didn't have 200 yards against a certain team that he's losing like votes, or he's losing, momentum in the Heisman. And I'm like, this guy is doing things that no other running back probably has done in who knows how many years, but they're holding that against him in the race, the Heisman race. And that's kind of how I feel about Mason Stark. It almost seems like no matter what he does, because of the teams maybe that he played, he gets that kind of like the short end of the stick, so to speak. And that's just me speaking personally, and there may be other views out there, but I think if he can really turn it up this last game and really just wow us again, I think that he'll be a kid that will probably surprise a lot of people when it's all said and done.
Yeah,
So
and that's another factor too. He has another game. Tank Thomas doesn't. Noel Brown doesn't. And I don't know if you guys seen Noel Brown film. It's Tank is speed. Noel Brown, he's power. He's
mm,
inside. And then you're talking about the leading sacker and top 3 in tackles in the county right now, and didn't play last week.
mm.
So that's a big factor. But I didn't. This was tough for me. But I did not think on the lines of having 2 defensive ends in there. I didn't think about that. It does make sense. If this was the Heisman Trophy room right now and we were talking about voting, that would be a factor. We you just that's just would be what it is. So it sounds like we kind of have our top 5 right now, and we'll have our big vote coming up very soon. Of course, we will have a tangible award for the guys, but it definitely makes sense. It definitely makes sense what you guys have said. So that's that. Player of the year candidates. We got a couple games this week. Not a whole bunch, but we do have a couple games this week. So let's go ahead and go over those real quick. We got CCC. They have a bye. Calvary, another bye. Let's see. St. Pete versus Northeast. Um, of course, I would think we would all pick St. Pete. But just a few facts about the game. St. Pete 4-1 last 5 games. Northeast 2-4 the last 6. St. Pete averaging 100 yards more per game. Yeah, this is pretty much looking like St. Pete all day. But this is Northeast. They can always show up. What say you guys?
Yeah, is the game at St. Pete or is it at Northeast? Or you're not sure?
St. Pete, I believe.
St. Pete. So this probably would be their senior night, right? If it's
Mm-hmm.
their last home game. So
Yeah.
with that being said, I think it's going to be a lot of hoopla. A lot of the parents walking those guys out, and I don't think they want to leave their last home game on a sour note. So I'll take that into account, and I like St. Pete in this one.
And
Yeah, I'll take St. Pete. I mean, once again, I think consistency wise, Northeast hasn't been there, and until you begin to show that you have that consistency, it's hard for me to buy that you're gonna kind of pick up some a big win like this at the end of the season, kind of like out of thin air. So I'm gonna go with St. Pete.
cool. Clearwater, we got a bye. P Park versus Braden River. 6-3 P Park. Braden River 2-6. Um, P Park, they average over 120 yards more per game. Their defense, even their defensive stats, kind of overwhelm Braden River. So I like P Park. What about you guys? I don't know if you guys seen Braden River play.
I've watched Braden River play in the spring. I think we both did against Bogey. Remember?
Oh
That
yeah, yeah,
was the
yeah,
night
yeah.
we watched them. Braden River beat Bogey, and we was like, man, what's going on with Bogey? But you know, that was the spring, and Braden River probably has added, you know, some more talent, and probably has you know, maybe fixed some of those things from the spring. So I'm not sure what their record is right now, but
2-6, yeah. Ain't,
yeah, I was gonna say I still like Pinellas Park because Braden River hasn't been a team as of late that's been making any noise. So I like Pinellas Park in this one.
Yep,
but
same. I'd have to roll with P Park in this one. I don't think that Braden River is. They haven't been a really like a entirely great team out of Manatee this year. I mean, they've had good teams in the past. Just this year, you could tell with you know, and I'm sure the coaching staff has done everything they can to really kind of make sure they're competitive, but they just haven't been at the kind of usual level they have been in the past. So yeah, I'll go with Pinellas Park in this one.
all right, then we got Largo and Steinbrenner. Now Largo 6-3, Steinbrenner's 4-5. One thing I noticed about research, both teams tend to have slow starts, balanced offenses on both sides. Steinbrenner beat Palm Harbor and Eastlake, and Palm Harbor beat Largo. So we can't, you know, I don't know. Have you seen Steinbrenner, Andy?
I mean, I haven't seen him in full pads. I saw him back in the spring, and yeah, looking at them just on via their schedule. I mean, early on, they had some tough games. I think the Plant City win is a really good win. You know, they got Chris Denson. I believe he's a Coastal Carolina commitment. So that's a good win. Eastlake, I think they were a little bit more. I don't know. I think they're playing a little bit better around the midpoint, so that was a good win. I mean, I don't care who you are. The teams we see out of in Pinellas County that are around the level of Largo, I mean, I don't think they would play with Armwood. I mean, Armwood's on a totally different level. I mean, I would say they're leveling even higher than CCC. So 62-3, I know that's probably looking at it like, how are you going to lose to somebody like that? But
Right.
put a lot of teams up against them, and you're going to see something like that too.
Right.
Plant's a pretty good team. You know,
so they're battle tested.
Yeah, they're definitely battle tested. I mean, I like the schedule. I think they've really. It just depends on how you view a team losing. I guess you'd have to. I think there's people I talk to that are like, when you lose like that, I don't care who you lose to. Like, how are you going to get smacked like that? To me, like, well, if you saw the dudes, you might have a different opinion. It's kind of like CCC getting smacked by St. Francis. I'm sure there's people out there that are like, how are you going to get smacked like that, CCC? Well, if you saw what me and Green saw, you probably understand why they got smacked. Because they got dudes that are from a totally different, you know, they're in a different stratosphere. So, yeah, I don't know. This one's tough. I think I'd give Steinbrenner just the slight edge because I know one thing based on all these scores outside of, like, you know, Armwood and Plan is looks like they score the football. They seem like they can put some points up.
Like I said, both teams, if you look at their first quarters, both teams tend to have slow starts. Both balanced offenses. You know, Largo has 6-3 and Steinbrenner 4-5, but this is another 4-5 team. They're not. I'm not going to say they're quite Lakewood, but this is a 4-5 team you cannot sleep on. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, so Largo, you know, be on your P's and Q's definitely. Green, have you had a chance to look at Steinbrenner or?
No, I do know that Largo has to be ready any Hillsboro team, you know, and you know, Steinbrenner gonna come ready to play. Hillsboro has this thing that they say they're better than Pinellas. So no matter who
Mm-hmm.
we send over there, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna give us their best just because we coming across the water and they want to make a statement. So, like you say, Largo, please don't go in there and sleep on Brenner. Y'all play y'all game and try to come out with a victory, get the L, and come back over to Pinellas.
Definitely, definitely. And we got Tarpon versus Lakewood. This will probably be the game of the week.
Oh,
Two teams we had big expectations for. We were thinking this would be a top 5 game when they played each other. Like we was like, okay, this has an opportunity to be top 5. Definitely, we had it like, okay, if Lakewood beat Clearwater, we was like, okay, these two teams are gonna go in. So, and they're still two good teams. Tarpon 6-3, Lakewood 4-5. Both 2-3 the last 5 games. Both 2-3. So
mm,
both kind of on a little down scare. I love Aiden Wallace still. Love Aiden Wallace. So this to me, even based on what the highlights we just saw, he can move in the pocket. He has 2 massive tackles. That's one thing I wanted to talk about. Like if you notice Campbell and Holloway, those guys are massive when you watch his tape. Um, so Wallace could scramble, and as long as the offense is showing up, this could be a tough game. Both teams lost to P Park and Cardinal Mooney. Both similar scores. Lakewood lost to P Park 31-20. Cardinal Mooney 40-16. Tarpon Springs lost to P Park 34-21. Then lost to Cardinal Mooney 55-18. So both teams got smacked by Cardinal Mooney. Both teams both teams barely lost to P Park and thought they should have won. You know, so this is Lakewood has to win this to get the playoffs, right? Green, I believe.
um, I want to say yes, but we all know that anything can happen. I'm hearing that it's points based and where Lakewood sits and where certain sits. A coach told me today that Bogey with 5-5, where they are, they if they beat not golf, Bayshore this weekend, they're in the playoffs at 5-5. So I, your guess is as good as mine. We'll just put it at and leave it at yes. They have to beat them to get in there. You know what I
They
mean?
need to. Yeah, they need to.
Yep. So
And Tarpon, I think needs this win just as bad. And I think Tarpon, I mean, they have the talent to win too. The atmosphere is gonna be crazy, man. I don't think people understand the type of atmosphere Tarpon can be. Like Tarpon Springs could be. I remember when I played at high school, man. You walked in up, and this is when they were good. You playing against the coolest, Roshan Marshalls, all them cats, man. And you was walking into, man. You was walking into a real deal atmosphere, man. And I'm gonna be very excited. I'm gonna be very excited. I'm hoping that the Lakewood fans show up and both sides could be full, and this
yeah.
could be a real big game, man. I don't even know who to pick. Who you guys like?
Mm.
I don't even know who to pick, man. I like Lakewood. I think the sense of urgency might take them over the top, but the sense of urgency should have took them over the top last week. And Lakewood, like I said, lost the game. It wasn't Osceola Kissimmee. It was Lakewood that lost the game. So, but Tarpon has a talent. I don't want to take anything from him. It could be the Makai Johnson show, but it could easily be. I think Lakewood has a talent to. They have the talent to shut him down. They have the talent, I believe. And I think Kavuklis, he's gonna have to use every player out there. It can't be just him thinking he's gonna toss it up. Nah, you have to use every player. Arson. Well, so what you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's gonna come down to which team avoids the most turnovers. Because all it takes is for you to jump on the team after a few turnovers, maybe a pick six here, a fumble, scoop and score here, block punt, scoop and score, something like that. And with them being, at home, and this could be their senior night as well. It being their last home game, it's a Thursday game, so a little wacky. outside of the norm of a Friday game. Anything can happen. But with all that being said, I think I'm gonna lean towards Lakewood, man, just because I think their defensive line is gonna give the Tarpon Springs offensive line some fits. Now that I do know, because they gave uh a huge line in Osceola last week fits. If it wasn't for the running game, the pass was non-existent, of course, but um, they had a lot of tackles behind the line on some of those fast running backs. And if you would have saw the line, they were massive, but they ran around them and they used muscle and strain to get through and made some key stops. And I've watched Tarpon Springs, and I think that's from what I've saw. I think that's been a key problem for them is their line. Especially on the tackles. Their tackles hasn't been that good. So as you can see, the guy moving down at the bottom feet wise. So it's going to be a good match. If they don't allow some stuff like that over the top. And they keep pressure on the quarterback, then I think it'll be a long game because they're going to get them and make them into some passing situations, and it's going to be up to Lakewood and them to be able to be ready.
You say, Andy?
Well, I would say I was enjoying listening to the playoff talk of will this have consequences in that. I will say no. It looks like in Class 2A Region 3, Tarpon Springs right now would be slated to play Glade Central. It'd be a 6-versus-3 game, so the Spongers would have to hit the road and head
that's
to
a tough game.
Yep, they'd have to head out to the muck. I have seen Glade Central. That would be, I mean, it would be a tough game. And then Lakewood at this time, they're the 7th seed. They would play Bishop Verot. And if you say that sounds like a familiar name, well, it is because Calvary Christian lost to them. So we know what kind of team Bishop Verot has. Yeah, I don't think, win or lose, it's going to be – there's only one team that is kind of on the outside looking in. They're trying to get in. It's Inlet Grove over in the West Palm Beach area. So unless if one of the Lakewood or Tarpon loses by 50 to each other, I don't think they're going to get knocked out of the playoff picture. So I think they can kind of go into the game, just play the game, play a nice tight game, and kind of just ramp up for the playoffs. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with Lakewood just because really kind of looking – I think the game Aiden Wallace just had, I looked at the stats, 14 of 29, 302, 2 touchdowns. Big number to me, though, 0 picks. And against some other teams he's played against that are pretty good teams, I see interceptions, turnovers. Obviously the biggest killer of anything when you're trying to get your offense rolling. And for him, I mean, I actually think that's probably his best game as a Spartan. I really think it is, just because the opponent, the talent, just leading that late charge. And Green was at the game, he saw, I mean, they literally were, it sounds like, I don't know if it was a good or bad call, but if the call's not made, he's got 3 touchdowns. So I think he's playing. I mean, it's a quarterback-eccentric matchup. You got Joaquin Cavaclis against Aiden Wallace. So it's going to come down to which one plays better. I think Wallace is starting to heat up a little bit. So I'm gonna go with Spartans.
Yeah, I think he's definitely, if we're gonna talk about a quarterback that's gotten themselves in playoff form and gotten themselves ready, Wallace, he's definitely up there. So whew, man, it's tough pick though, man. But I'm gonna man. I'm gonna man, yeah, I'm gonna ride with Lakewood on this one. I'm gonna ride with Lakewood on this one, but I think it's gonna be very close. Very close. I like Renillos and Triplet to show up. I like Cresser to show up on offense and defense. I like, I like it to be a team on team game. And but I wouldn't be surprised if Tarpon Springs pulls it out though. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. That's gonna be a tough one. Got last up, got Seminole at Hollis. Like I said, man, Hollis they've improved this year. Got to give it to them. And what better way to go out, man? Because they got a couple kids. They got Mr. McAfee. But what better way to go out than maybe beating disappointing Seminole? So I like Seminole, but hey, you never know. But I love Seminole, man. But hey, we got Hollis. They won some games this year, so they're not just getting ran over. 4-6 would be a nice way to end it. What about you guys? You think Seminole got it?
Yeah. Hey, would you call last week game an upset? They beat
Which
Gibbs.
one?
They beat Gibbs. Holland beat Gibbs. Hollins.
For Hollis?
Yeah, would you call that an upset? What they
Yes.
going into the game?
I don't think it'd be. I mean, if they were 0-10 like that, 0-9, like 0-8 going in, yes. But they were 3. They were 2-5, 2-6 going in. I don't think Gibbs' record might have been worse, so I don't think so.
Yeah, I think Gibbs won one. They beat Countryside.
Yeah,
I don't think they had a win after that. So I guess Gibbs was the actual underdog then.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure. I didn't know who was the underdog in that game. But I would say man, Hollins had a good run, man. Them Seminole boys, that ain't no joke. And I seriously doubt Augie is gonna let them go in there and lose, the last game with, that record and all that stuff on the line. So Hollins, you guys had a good run and a good improvement, and we applaud the upward trajectory of the record. But I think Seminole, you're running into another beast. Mr. Stark is gonna have something to say about the Holland Royals. So that's my pick. I like Seminole.
What about you, Andy?
I'm not going to get deep into it. I'm just going to say it's going to be Hollins or Seminole. I'm sorry, Seminole.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say.
I know. Oh man, I was about to go. Seminole.
We got you marked down.
I know. He's like, all right. You said Hollins. Yeah, my guy Jason Stokes be like, Andy, man, you're for us. I knew it. No, I'm very cool with Coach Stokes. I'm sorry, man. I just don't. I'm not seeing it for you guys. I think Augie and the Warhawks are gonna take it.
All right, then we got Osceola versus Southeast. Osceola 5-4, Southeast 4-5. Yeah, Southeast lost to Northeast and St. Pete. They got smoked by Northeast, so I like Osceola. But I don't know. No Gavin Galish. Southeast, man, they still tough. They still brave the Southeast. What you guys think? You got 15 seconds.
Southeast.
Southeast.
All right. No Gavin Galish. Southeast Osceola. All right, man. I'll holler at y'all, man. We'll talk later.
All right. Later. Enjoy your night.
Yeah.
All right, bro.
All right. I'll holler at you.
Yes, sir.